He's just sitting out there.
We're gonna make some breakfast. We're here in Jacksonville hanging out with family. I just wanna kind of share like a simple breakfast that I make and kind of why I do it with you guys. It's nothing crazy, but I think sometimes we think it's gotta be super complex. Really, all you need is some vegetables. You just need some greens, a little something to throw it on, got a nice base. Boom, you're good. So let's go make some breakfast. This is such a simple thing to make, and I like it because it helps keep me on track while still honestly just really enjoying my food. And like, that's the most important thing. Like, how can I stay on track but still have foods that I enjoy that I don't feel like I'm deprived from? Now, I am also having a bagel because I'm not gonna be eating very much more today. Because whenever I'm like gone on the weekends or something like that, I like to kind of eat a little bit less frequently and plan out things that I really, really want to enjoy. So tonight, I'm not sure what we're doing, but we're gonna definitely do something. I'm just kind of enjoying myself now. Most of you guys probably won't need this. I would normally not have it. I would only have about 26 grams of carbs in the form of 2 waffles with this meal. But still an awesome meal. Tastes amazing. The macros are strong, and yeah, I just love it. So time to dig in. Let's see how it tastes. I didn't even have to put a lot of like seasoning on it because when I do the Beyond Meat cookout burgers, I season those pretty well. And then the mushrooms and onions obviously add a lot of flavor. I probably could use a little bit less spinach because it's kind of like a bigger salad more than just like a really, strong bowl. But that's all right. I still like it. And like I said, it's quick. I just chop a few things up. If you have them prepped, it's obviously that much easier. But hey. Not gonna lie, that bagel's good too. So I just wanted to go over a few things about breakfast in general, and kind of how I go about it, and just some tips that I thought might help you guys out, okay? So let's get into it. First of all, I actually don't really eat a lot of breakfast, quote unquote. Most days I fast, and I don't eat till about between 1 or 3 p.m. Some days, if I've been up doing more stuff, I might eat around 12:30. But most days I'm not eating till sometime between 1 or 3 o'clock. Recently, it's been more between 2 and 3 o'clock. And that's really simple as to why. The reason is because I'm fasting most days. So because of that, when I'm fasting, I'm kind of getting over the urge and need to eat earlier. Now, I'm also not working out earlier in the morning, which is a part of that as well. When I do work out, I still do try to keep my fast going a little bit after. It really just depends how I feel. If my body's telling me to eat, then I will. If not, then I won't. But in general, I've seen really good results when it comes to fasting, even if I fasted a little while after my workout, especially when I was focusing on fat loss, even though we know that that can lead to a little bit of lean muscle loss as well. But just kind of wanted to put that out there and share it. So when it comes to having a solid breakfast, let's take a step back. We are out of town, not at home, brought things that I thought could help us. So I try to plan ahead, and that's the focus of this next point, plan ahead. It's gonna be kind of hard for you to just on the fly, just make things up that are still gonna fit your goals, and we're gonna get to that in a second. It's really important that you kind of have some structure to what you're doing. Even if you're not necessarily completely planning ahead, right? You can still have an idea that, hey, I'm gonna have some greens, I'm gonna have some peppers, I'm gonna have some onions. Even if the portions are kind of off, it's still somewhat close to what you're used to having, then you're gonna be solid. But planning ahead is huge. That's gonna afford you the ability to be able to continuously be working towards your goals and not just get derailed left and right and that can lead to a lot of other problems, mainly like that guilt, bad relationships between food and what your body looks like, things like that. We don't want that. So planning ahead is a huge thing here. I already knew basically what I was gonna have. So even though I didn't bring everything that we would need for breakfast and there wasn't a bunch of shopping done, I was like, all right, since I have an idea, I'm gonna be good because I can make the rest fit for me. And you guys saw it was a pretty simple meal. It's nothing crazy, but it gets the job done. It was filling. I felt amazing when I had it, which is the best part. I just love eating, but I love when I eat healthy. I just feel so much better. So plan ahead. So the next one is not overcomplicating things. I think that this happens a ton. People are always posting about, hey, I'm looking for a recipe for this, a recipe for that. Guys, this is what it is. It's simple. You're gonna put some seasoning on something. You're gonna put something into a pan. You're gonna cook it at a temperature. You might add some other things that you just know happen to have flavors that you like, but it doesn't really matter. Don't think you need this exquisite recipe or anything like that. I think it's that for me, at least, it's really just about making foods that fit my goals, which we're gonna talk about here in a little bit, and that are simple for me. Because though I do enjoy cooking, like in the evening, I do enjoy just sitting and like cutting vegetables and like listening to like sports or listening to a podcast or something like that. In the morning when I do have breakfast or when I am breaking my fast, I love to just listen to the news and like have a nice cup of coffee. And so that's the association for me. But I think that a lot of times it's way overcomplicated. Like, I've got to have this and I've got to have that. You just got to start experimenting and finding some things that fit. If you need a lower amount of carbs, if you need a higher amount of carbs, if you need a lower amount of fat or a higher amount of fat or whatever it might be, or if you're struggling to get your protein, just do some research ahead of time. We talked about that. Find the foods that fit for you and then you're good. All right, this one is one that I think has a much deeper purpose and a lot of people can understand, and that's eating to support your goals. So it's very important that what you're eating it can't be counterproductive to whatever goals you have. When I'm speaking with my clients, it's always about, hey, listen, we want you to enjoy yourself and we want you to be able to eat as much food as you want to have, and we don't want you to feel guilty about that. But the things that we're doing outside of that and the foods that we're eating, they have to be working toward our goal. If it's not working toward our goal, then it's working us away from our goal, and that's not gonna be good for anybody in the end, right? You're gonna be upset with yourself, start developing a bad relationship with food potentially, and a slew of other things that can happen if you don't keep in mind that I'm responsible, right? I'm responsible for these foods that are going into my body. I'm the person that has the choice in the end, but you've got to put yourself in opportunities where you can get that win and you got a better chance to succeed. It probably means, vetting some of the social settings that you're going into, making sure that you're preparing ahead if you're going out of town or on trips, which is going to happen because it's a part of life. So many of us struggle with that. I was out of town or, I had an event or whatever. You've been doing these things all your life. You've been going out of town your whole life. You've been going to events with family and friends your whole life. It's not a new thing. So the sooner that we develop better habits, the sooner that's going to end up being a huge win for us and not a drawback. This one might be one of the more important ones, and it's all in the spices. So utilize your spices. I love to use turmeric. I love to use a lot of garlic. I love to use like vegan branch chains like soy sauce. I love to use a lot of garlic powder, a lot of not a lot of salt, but pink salt, and a lot of black pepper. I use a lot of black pepper. That's kind of like my wheelhouse. But understanding that the spices that I'm having are, number one, like I'm in charge if a food is bland or tastes crappy, like I'm in charge of it, because no matter what foods you're having, you always have the choice to add other things onto it, or to kind of change the texture of it or whatever by cooking it a different way. There are things that you can do to your food, right? I could add garlic cloves, I could add onions, I could add peppers, I could saute those and then put them on top of something, right? But those spices that you use that kind of go with that, that's gonna be your way of making a food fit for you also, not just taste-wise. Turmeric, it's helping to reduce inflammation. There are certain foods that are gonna be, sauerkraut, that's better for your gut. It's not a seasoning, but you guys get where I'm going. It's a thing that you can put on your food. It's probably what I just should have called this. A thing that you can put on your food, So whatever it is that's gonna help you have the flavor to where you're gonna enjoy these different foods. One of my clients messaged today we were talking about TVP meatballs that she made. And she's like, oh, I hate it. I try to mask it any way I can. And I'm like, man, I love TVP. I have it every single day almost. But the seasoning I use a steak seasoning, I use black pepper, I use Himalayan salt, I use garlic powder, I use turmeric, all those things I just told you, a ton of oregano. And it tastes amazing to me. Literally, people come to my house and they will literally just like eat it like out of like with a spoon, like, oh God, what is this? It tastes like ground beef. But it's not, it's TVP, right? So That's something that I think that you guys really should put an emphasis on, you know, what spices are using and understand what those spices are going to do for you. Last point. This might be the most important one, okay? So follow along. You gotta have some fun. You gotta be able to experiment with the foods that you're having and not be afraid of making some mistakes. Probably not gonna cook, you know, an entire bag of TVP or something that's gonna take 5 cups of something like that, to where if it doesn't turn out exactly how you like it, you're like, man, I wasted all this stuff. But don't be afraid to experiment. That's where you're gonna start to find some things that surprise you. It's where you're gonna start to find some things that you really enjoy. I'm gonna be posting my TVP recipe here soon. And in that video, I show how it's one of the simplest things that I make. That's literally hot water, TVP in a bowl with a bunch of seasonings on it, pour the hot water on top of it, eat it, put on whatever you want. I've got TVP that I brought here with us on our trip to Jacksonville. So many times people are not experimenting, they're not just trying new things. And because of that, you get stuck in a place where you have these foods that you are eating all the time, or you feel like you got such a limited space for you to navigate in, and it's just not true. So I hope that those help you guys out. Make sure that you guys comment below. Tell me, you know, what type of foods are you eating? You know, what type of things do you experiment on, or what are just some of your go-to foods? Tell me in the comments. Also, make sure that you guys check the description for some of the foods that I eat and that I suggest. I've got a ton of them, as well as the supplements that I take. All those are in the description down below. And of course, as always, if you could like this video, make sure that you hit the alert button and subscribe if you have not already. That way you get notified when all new videos are coming out, and I will see you guys next time.